There's Something About Mary. He gave me the script. They sent me the script. And I read the script, and I didn't think it was that funny. Because so much of it's visual humor, like the scene where he zips up the Franks and beans and the whole bit. I read that scene, and I'm like, I don't know how that's going to be funny. But it was hilarious. It was like one of the funniest scenes.
My guest today is a Hollywood composer. His filmography is insane. It includes Something About Mary, Dumb and Dumber 2, The Three Stooges, Shadow Hal, Me, Myself, and Irene, and the list goes on and on. He's worked with some of the major studios from Universal to Warner Brothers to DreamWorks and a multitude of others. I wanted to talk with him today about two dimensions of his craft, one of which is how he creates an experience for an audience, which fascinates me because people don't understand through one dimension of learning, but rather we have to find ways to influence how they perceive, react, and think, how they emote, how they start to identify with a character, how they start to own a storyline. And our guest today is going to talk about that in the context of producing a film, making a film, and the sound that goes with it to amplify a story. My guest today is Billy Goodrum. Billy.
Hey, well, thanks for stopping by, Chris. I'm glad you could. That's quite the build-up. And yeah, appreciate it.
We today are here in Billy's studio. So this is where the magic happens. So it's a privilege to be here. I'm thrilled that you are going to bring us into the inner sanctum of Billy.
Yeah, this is where I spend all my time by myself writing music, because that's kind of part of the job description. But you do spend a lot of time by yourself in a collaborative way with you're working with other people by yourself so often. And then, for instance, like I'll be here and I'll write some music, and then I'll mock it up on the computer, and then I'll decide, well, we need, we need some live strings, or we need a horn player, we need people. So I'll go and work with other people in that regard. I've had a very fortunate career. It's not easy to break into this business.
Tell me the genesis of that. How did you break into the business?
How did I break into the business? Well, I went to Berklee College of Music and got a degree in music,
right?
Which gave me all the tools I needed, But I moved to Los Angeles, thinking, okay, this is what I've got to do to make something happen. And I do believe that, because there's really, you can be more remote now with the internet, but basically Los Angeles, New York, Nashville, those are the big music cities where people are funneling a lot of money into music, So I moved to Los Angeles, and to make some money, I started working in art departments. I had a friend that was also from North Carolina that had gone out there and become a well-known production designer and art director. And he took me under his wing, kind of, and I started working in the art departments. So Peter Farrelly was getting ready to make Dumb and Dumber. And he came over to this friend's house, Sidney Bartholomew was his name, and began to describe what he wanted for Dumb and Dumber, and wondering if Sid could deliver it. And I'm sitting there in the meeting. I'd been doing some art for some commercials and different things with with Sid at that point. So Peter Farrelly says to Sid, he says, well, now I need this dog van. I want it to be covered with like carpet or something. I don't know, but it can't be too good. It's got to look like a couple of idiots made it in their backyard. So we were like, we're your guy.
Bingo, we found them.
We're it. So we built the dog vans. We built two identical, because they were shooting in Rhode Island and Colorado.
Right.
One of them ended up in like a museum in Berlin or something.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, temporarily, I think it's back. And one of them ended up in Bobby Farrelly's backyard. But so we made those, and I was working so I continued to work in the art department, and I was sweeping up one day at the end of a shoot, and we were in Griffith Park in Los Angeles. We'd spent the day spraying foam on the pine trees so it would look like Aspen, Colorado.
Got it.
Look like snow, all that. So I was sweeping up at the end of the day, and Peter walked over to me and says, hey, Billy, someone told me you're a music guy. He's like, give me a song, I'll put it in the movie.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so my friend, Sidney Bartholomew from Tarboro, North Carolina, we wrote a song called 2 Foot of Butt Crack, which was a far cry from my graduating with honors from Berkeley College of Music.
You got the Peter Farrelly, a Columbia kid, and you got
Yeah.
Berkeley Music School with honors, and you guys are making Dumb and Dumber and 2 Feet of Butt Crack.
Yeah,
Classy.
no. Yeah, but something, I think with Peter, it's actually a very smart movie in a way, and it really hits the bullseye of what it's shooting for.
Right.
And that's a success. With a comedy, the one thing about a comedy is you don't have to wonder if it works or if it's good or not. If it's a very dramatic film with a lot of angst and passion,
Right.
It might touch some people, it might touch other people. But if you go into a movie theater and it's a comedy and people are laughing, then you've won.
Yeah.
You've won.
Yeah.
And if you go in and they're not, it's a problem.
So Billy, give me the sense. I mean, this is a classic film that's going to go down for the ages as one of the leading comedic films of that point in time. I think it really helped to define the Farrelly Brothers in terms of their style, their genre, their sense of comedy and how they did it. And it's slapstick, it is toilet humor, it's brought to life. They had some great actors, obviously, that really made a career out of it. Give me a sense of what it sounds like, 2 Feet of Butt Crack.
Okay, well, since we were giving it a vibe, we call it 2 Foot of Butt Crack in the
2 foot.
song.
Foot.
2 foot. Okay. Two foot of butt crack was all I did see. Wrong end of the repairman was looking back at me. He jumped out the window as I walked through the door. I saw his repair coveralls laying on the floor.
That's awesome.
2 foot of butt crack was all I could see. Wrong end of the repairman looking back at me.
So it's an instant hit, right?
Yeah.
And in the movie, the version that's in the movie, I didn't sing it. A guy named Bruce Greenwood, who was a very great, look him up, Google him. Bruce Greenwood is a very great dramatic actor. He played Admiral Pike in the Star Trek reboots with Chris Pine and all that. And we went over to his house one day. We'd written it, and we went over to his house and recorded it and sent it to Peter. And he's like, "Great, I know just where to put it."
I'm fascinated also by how these things come together. That you meet Peter in a meeting, you're doing art, you're helping sweep up, you're putting foam on trees out at Griffith Observatory or Griffith Park. And then all of a sudden you find a singer who's a character actor, a leading character actor in a sense.
Yeah, I think
how these strings come along as part of that.
This kind of synchronicity, there is something to it. I think it happens when you put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you take a risk, like I moved to Los Angeles with very little money. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I did have the advantage of knowing this guy, Sid, who had been my art teacher in boarding school.
Okay.
And he'd quit it was like Dead Poet Society. He lasted 1 year in the job. And then he moved to New York and then to Los Angeles and did things. And so just a few years later, we caught up. But that was part of the synchronicity too. He came and did a workshop in Charlotte where I had moved back to after graduating. And I saw him and I called him a month or so later and I said, "Hey, Sid, when are you going to come back again?" He goes, "That's not the question. His question is, when are you going to move to Los Angeles? Because you're talented and you're going to stay there and you're going to end up playing Jim Croce songs in some steakhouse somewhere if you're not careful." Which isn't a terrible thing either.
Right.
But he said, as a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to direct a kids special. And can you write some music that sounds like Dave Grusin's Mountain Dance and send it to me? So I stayed up all night, recorded it, played it for him over the phone because this was, and he said I couldn't send him an MP3 in 93. Yeah. And he said, "Great, get a ticket, come on out."
Awesome.
So that kind of synchronicity.
That's that first thread.
But I believe this, and I know we've talked about this before, the power of showing up. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think that my going out there and also getting a job, being willing to sweep up, because that got me in the game. I wasn't, the starting linebacker, but I was the water boy.
Yeah, right.
But it got me in the game,
Yes.
and it got me to meet people, and I'm a firm believer in that, showing up and just getting yourself in the game somehow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So that journey then continued. So you're working primarily as still in the art department, or you're now converting over as a composer, a film composer?
Good question. I began at that point writing songs. I was also doing some session work here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Peter's and Bobby's next film was Kingpin, and I wrote a song for that, and it was on the soundtrack album, and that got me a deal at A&M Records, and so that was huge.
Right.
But once again, it's showing up. They called me into the office at A&M, and they says, "Okay, it's between you and another band to get this last spot on this soundtrack album." Soundtrack albums were a big deal back then.
Right.
He said, "But they're being weird about it." The guy told me, the A&R guy, he told me, he said, he said they're worried that they're selling out. They're worried that they're not being true to their vision, or they're not.
Right.
It's not going to be a good deal for them somehow. And he says, "What do you think?" And I said, "Where do I sign?" Because any deal's a good deal. They were going to pay me money, and then my representatives got a record deal out of it for me. And so it worked out pretty well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have always continued for several decades to do music with the Farrelly Brothers and the various projects that they have coming out, in addition to other directors, other films, other projects.
Yeah. A lot of other projects, a lot of other films. I've done, I think, 17 songs for the Farrelly Brothers I've written for their movies, so that's a lot.
Sure.
And I just gave Pete some songs for his new movie a couple months ago. So
something that he's working on right now.
Yeah, it's a new movie called Balls Up with...
Always classic.
But in the meantime, he won an Oscar for Green Book. So,
right.
But
you balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, you balance it out a little bit. So I sent him some songs. I was out there in December before the fires, and I sent him some songs for this new movie. It's Mark Wahlberg and Paul Walter Hauser and Benjamin Bratt. It's a great cast, very funny. It's going to be a very funny
So let's talk
film.
about collaboration. How does that work with Peter or other directors that you work with? But do they ask for an idea? Do they send you a clip? Do they articulate a vision? Or do you create something based on what you know? How does it work with Farrelly?
Well, sometimes it's gone different ways. For one, the Butt Crack song.
Yeah.
We didn't know how it would fit into the film, but we knew it was funny.
It was good. It was comedy unto its own.
Yeah, it had its own little, and it had
a
a bouncy, it had the right, it's up tempo. It's not going to drag anything down. It's going to push it along. So we did, we wrote it, we submitted it, we crossed our fingers, and it got in the movie.
Awesome.
Kingpin, I sent Pete, I think 5, he said, "Give me some songs." And so I sent him 5 songs. And I almost didn't put that one on the album, and it's probably my most popular song. And he picked a song that fit a certain scene with him. So a movie like The Heartbreak Kid, I wrote something specifically along those lines, of a guy that gets married and goes on his honeymoon and meets his dream girl on his honeymoon.
Right.
Yes, the classic.
Does he give you a thumbnail, or does he give you the script, or does
for instance,
give you a concept? What are you working with?
It varies.
It varies.
And for instance, so there's something about Mary. He gave me the script. They sent me the script, and I read the script, and I didn't think it was that funny because so much of it's visual humor, like the scene where he zips up the Franks and beans and the whole bit. I read that scene, and I'm like, I don't know how that's going to be funny, but it was hilarious. It was like one of the funniest scenes.
Right.
I mean, it's still a very quoted scene. Franks and beans.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this song, The Way. It's the way you look and the way you walk. It's the way you touch me and the way you say nothing.
It's the way you look and the way you walk. It's the way you touch me.
and that's the end credit song for the film.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, he really
You use that.
Yeah, he used that. And so different things. And then other films like Green Book, I'm the wrong fit for that. And it was a period piece, so there were no songs to be written for that. Another movie, wacky movie that Peter was involved in. It wasn't his movie per se, but was movie 43 where I did a ton of music for that for different directors.
Right.
And then, you know, film scoring is a whole nother arena. And I...
In what way? Tell me about that. What does that mean?
Okay, well, songs, you know, and a lot of people, especially in the 90s, and still use a lot of songs in their films to kind of move the film along, to score the film in a way. They'll put a romantic song under a romantic scene. They'll put, you know, different music at different times.
Right.
You know, something at nighttime music, something a little more subtle, something like that, some chill elements to it. So, but scoring is what you know, scoring is the background music in a film. The music with no lyrics. It's not a song, and it's written specifically for the film. And ideally, it's a voice unto itself that tells you something about the movie that you're not seeing and that the dialogue doesn't reveal. That's hard. I mean, the best scores, some composers will tell you the best scores are ones that people don't notice.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's different types. There's action movies where you want a big score.
Sure.
There's like John Williams' Star Wars where different characters have their own themes so that you identify heavily with them and it defines them.
Right.
You know, Darth Vader's theme defines him in those movies.
Right.
And the approach can be different. And sometimes you want to accentuate what you're already seeing, and that's like an action movie.
Right.
So you have heavy drums and you have different things going that make it exciting and really motion, you know, forward motion. Whereas, and then, you know, and that's, some people used to call that Mickey Mousing, where you're like a cartoon, you're writing exactly to what's happening on the screen. But sometimes you can have a scene that's kind of, somebody's running, but you hear this, you know, maybe a sad thing, and you know they're struggling, and you know they're struggling with something that goes counter to what you see on the screen.
Right, right.
Now, these days, when I get a film, I generally get a temp track with it, which means the director and the editor have worked together, and they've taken music from other movies and put it in under the film. So it makes it great for the editor because then he can feel the rhythm. And then you know, then the composer, I get the film and I hear what they've temped to, and I say, okay, this is kind of what they want.
So you need to keep that cadence, that emotion, that feel, but create something that's new and original.
Yeah, and that's a tall order.
Yeah.
Because people, they have a thing called temp love. People get very attached to the temp track, the temporary score, which is, and then also too, sometimes it'll be maybe an indie film with not a huge budget, and they'll use the score from $100 million film.
They got John Williams working on it.
Yeah, so you've got this situation where you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So do you see the film a lot of times? Like today, will they send you the rough cut of the film or even a tight cut of the film with a temp underneath it?
Yeah. Okay. So
how finished is the product by the time you get it?
When I get it to work on, they've usually locked picture.
Is that right?
That means
so it's done.
That means it is done.
Got it.
They've done all the edits they're going to do. Ideally, then sometimes they might have a test screening and go back in and say, well, you know what, we're going to shorten this scene, so can you rewrite the music to make it a shorter? Because it needs to end right on the right beat that goes with what we're seeing on the screen, or the end of the scene, or the change of the scene, or the change of the mood. But no, when I get it, they've done so much of the work. And usually it comes to me and it's, there's a temp track in it, and it comes to me and the sound designer at the same time.
Okay.
So the sound effects people start working on it around the same time I do.
And you guys work in parallel?
Yeah, we don't communicate.
You don't communicate. That's interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting because sometimes I'll write what I think is the most beautiful piece of music I've ever written, or interesting piece of music, or exciting piece of music. And it comes to the mix time where they go mix it, and they said, let's use the sound effect.
Oh, you're kidding.
And they'll mix the music really low and then have
because they got the horse and the carriage in the background coming
yeah.
down through there, and they want to amplify that.
Barreling through the town, which is why often the composer doesn't go to the mix. Sometimes we go, sometimes we don't. In today's post-COVID Zoom world, it's very rare. You know, but oftentimes you send your music editor because you don't want your heart broken right there in the mix stage because they're going to mix your music down or take out a cue.
How dramatically it's changed from the early days in which you're sending a track over a wireline telephone from North Carolina and saying, I wrote this, what do you think? To now you're dialing it in through Zoom.
Dialing in through Zoom and sending the tracks through, you know, thing. Now, you know, I work a lot also with Eduardo Ponti.
Okay. Tell me how you came to know Eduardo Ponti.
Oh, yeah, it's simple, but just through a friend again.
Yeah. It's part of that network and being present and showing up, right?
Well, this one was kind of very Italian in that Eduardo, his daughter, and my son have the same godfather.
Got it.
Yeah. So my friend Jeff, who's the godfather in question,
right?
He's a screenwriter. He wrote In the Line of Fire, which is a great Clint Eastwood movie that he was nominated for an Oscar for that. But so Jeff calls me and says, hey, Eduardo's making a movie. They were working on a movie together at the time, and it just got put on the back burner, got put in turnaround, as they call it. And nothing was happening with it. It was a challenging movie to make. But so he was making this comedy, and he introduced us. And so I went over to Eduardo's house and we spent a little time and we hit it off. You know, you always hope you will. You never know.
Right.
You know, he's super nice person.
Give a little bit of background on Eduardo, his genesis and where he comes from.
Oh yeah, he's from a different world than I'm from. His mother is Sophia Loren.
Right.
And his father is Carlo Ponti, who produced, you know, a number of Fellini's films. He produced Dr. Zhivago. Right. So they're both Oscar winners. Both of his parents have won Oscars for their film work.
How interesting.
They're legends.
Yeah,
they're absolute legends.
Davidson, North Carolina kid, working in the art department, writing music, coming up, journeyman musician. And now you're with Sophia Loren's son.
Yeah, and so we connected through my friend Jeff, who we're very close to. And I sent him some music, and he ended up initially thinking he was going to go with someone else.
Okay.
And I understand why, because he had more credits than me. He was kind of a bigger name person. And that didn't work out for some reason. Mm-hmm. So Eduardo called me back and says, hey, I recorded some samples. I'd gotten a violin player and did this kind of gypsy jazz stuff, recorded it here in Asheville. Yeah. The movie was Coming and Going with Rhys Darby, who I don't know if you've ever seen Fly to the Concords or Our Flag Means
Love. So what's that sound like a little bit, that gypsy sound?
It's hard to it's more of a guitar thing, but it's violins. Mm-hmm. It's like Django Reinhardt or Stefan Grappelli.
This is one of the things also that I always enjoy our conversations is because you have this ability to pull down these different libraries of types of music and immediately drop into them. Whether it's the jazz that you've done some work with leading jazz musicians and being part of their work, all the way through to gypsy sounding music, some Indian music to rock and funk, and you have diversity.
I have diversity, and I love music.
Right.
I absolutely love music, and I love songs. I'm kind of versed in songs going back to about the Gershwin era, the 20s, and Louis Armstrong. Like, I love songs. I love music. I love different styles, and I've been playing since I started playing the piano when I was 4.
Is that right?
I started picking it up. And
by yourself or
by myself? I started
so
teaching myself. Started teaching myself, and then my parents said, he's pretty good. He's coming out. We need to get him some lessons. And so the woman in town that they wanted me to take lessons with was a very strict teacher, and she wouldn't take students till they were 8. Okay. Very different than today.
Yeah.
She wouldn't take students until they were 8. And so then I started doing it, and I was good. I wasn't no prodigy, but I was very good.
Right.
And I would be entered in piano competitions. So we'd go to these universities in different places around the Southeast, and I'd do piano, classical music kind of thing, and that helped me a lot. So when Eduardo wanted that, I gave him the examples. He liked it. We started working on it. And this is back to sending stuff. I could send him, just quick times or MP3s of the music. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And it was great. And then it came time to actually record it. These are all stuff I'm doing by myself. And I said, Eduardo, if you came to North Carolina, we could do it in Charlotte, and we get some players from the Charlotte Symphony, and I know some really good jazz players there and all that. And I said, we'll get a lot more bang for our buck. It's an independent film. He said, we'll get a lot more bang for our buck. And he goes, that settles it. We'll do it in North Carolina. And then he goes, I'll come. He goes, where's North Carolina? He grew up in Europe.
Actually, in Geneva, right? I mean,
yeah.
Boarding
Geneva.
schools in Switzerland.
Yeah, Switzerland. Yeah, Geneva, Paris.
Right.
And he's lived in Los Angeles the whole time he's been in the U.S. So he said, I'll come to North Carolina. He's like, where's North Carolina? It's like East Coast. He goes, all the way. He goes, all the way. And he came and he loved it.
Did he?
He loved it. We went to Charlotte, which is as you know, the headquarters for Bank of America. And we're walking around in downtown Charlotte, going to this restaurant. We're walking a couple blocks. He goes, I love it here. It's just like Geneva, banks everywhere.
The Geneva of North Carolina. So Billy, tell me about the collaborative process with Eduardo Ponti. You have an Italian compared to our Rhode Island boys of the Farrelly Brothers. Yeah. How is it the same? How is it different?
Well, Eduardo is much more hands-on with the score. I mean, he and I would spend the day writing music for him. And he comes in with some pretty clear ideas about what he wants. But gives me freedom within that.
Okay.
He's a dream to work with.
Okay.
He's a great guy. I feel very fortunate with both of those people that they're such high quality people and fans of my music.
Right.
That we enjoy the collaborative process.
How's it work? What does Eduardo start you with? With an
idea
or a script or a film?
He sends me the film and he has a temp.
Okay.
Or he sends me music before I get the film, different kinds of music, like, this is what I'm thinking about for this. This is what I'm thinking about for this. This is what I'm thinking about for this. So we go from there, and I start to write, and I'll send him. And usually, because I would send him the tracks in the evening, and then that evening he'd call me and let me know what he thought about it. Like one scene, maybe one scene, like some rough ideas. It might take me 2 days, it might take me 3 days to do a scene, depending on how long it is. And we ended up every time with something that we really liked, and that we both really liked. I saw him in December, and we were talking about it. We had one cue that was in a part of a film that was like, it didn't really need music. So we decided for the next film we'll have a safe word. That if we feel like music's going in where it doesn't belong, we'll say something like Miles Davis, who always said it was what you don't play that's the most important.
Right, right.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Because one of the interesting things about Eduardo Ponti is several of his films have been designed to showcase Sophia Loren in her later stages and in a different way, and to allow her to act using Italian and Neapolitan Italian, etc. And his music is very different to allow that showcasing of one of the, a legendary actress and his mom. Yeah,
like we did this film Human Voice.
Okay.
That was a real pleasure to do, because she was brilliant in it. An incredible cinematographer named Rodrigo Prieta was the cinematographer, and it's a beautiful film.
And you went to Cannes for that.
We did. We went. It was interesting because the film was going to have a special screening at the film festival. And Eduardo called me and he goes, you really need to come. You should really come.
Awesome.
And it's a friend. He knew it was going to be good. He goes, they've announced now that my mother, Sophia Loren, is the guest of honor at the festival this year.
Mm-hmm.
So every door will be open. And it was. Everywhere we went, the director of the festival was there, making sure we got what we needed and where we were supposed to be. And the screening, seeing it in on a giant screen there at Cannes with her, with a 10-minute standing ovation at the end of the film. It really was amazing.
What a great experience to be a part of that.
It was a great experience. And, you know, my wife was like, Billy, you have to go. She goes, if you don't go, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Now, those kind of things are funny because you never know if you don't know what you miss. So it's hard to, but I think I would have regretted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have seen the photos from the thing, but.
It's beautiful. Give me a sense of like, what is the texture of that sound for human voice?
So here's what I started with. You know, you know, so that's the basic framework of it.
Right.
That's of the theme.
Really beautiful.
You know, so, and let me see, I can pull up that scene and you can hear it with her and the orchestration, everything.
La parola pace. Esisteva solo un braccio a te, a pace mia. Parla di qualche cosa, quello che vuoi. Basta che tu parli. Io mi sento meglio.
See, that's it with the orchestration, with the strings.
Certe volte quando stavamo coricati posava a capo un povetto tuo e anche lo pizzo mica. Ti sentivi parlare. Tale quale amore, in da corretto. Yep.
Beautiful visuals.
Incredible.
Her dialogue heavy, bring her character out to the front, and then you're using this orchestrated to come underneath it and provide some support.
And just some tenderness, there's some sweetness to it. It's a sad story of a woman, and she's the only person really in the movie. She's the only person that has dialogue in the movie.
Is that right?
It's a classic play, Jean Cocteau play. Yeah, and it's been done as a film before, and it's been done as a film since. But she really wanted to do it, and so Eduardo was like to do it. And then following that, they did another movie together called The Life Ahead.
Okay.
Which was it was a very successful film. I was the music producer on that. I wrote a lot of music for it, but I wasn't the main composer for it. I pulled everything kind of together on it, and as the music producer.
Do you like that role, that producer role?
Well, that was a different kind of role for different reasons. One was it was COVID.
Okay.
So so I was doing it in a way that would be different than as just the arranger. I was an arranger, producer, maybe differently because there was a composer in France, there were musicians in Los Angeles. We're pulling it all together and getting it all together. It was mixed at, I think, Air Studios in London. So it's like just staying involved with the process from it. We all had to be at a distance, because of COVID.
Sure.
So
but it worked.
It worked.
You made it happen.
The film worked. It came out great. It was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best International Feature.
Fantastic.
And so it was considered a big success.
That's great. So there's something else that you've been working on for the last, 5, 6, 8 years, which is a bit of a transition as well, right? So you're writing screenplays.
Screenplays,
Starting to write movies.
Yes, I am.
Now producing them. You'll direct them. And I love the first one.
In a perfect world, yes.
I love the first one because, Billy grew up in Davidson, North Carolina, so growing up in the South, and the first screenplay is called How to Die in the South.
Yeah.
So you're going to bookend it, growing up in the South and How to Die in the South.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What's the sketch on that?
The story is about, and it's about a Los Angeles record executive on a losing streak that gets called back to his small southern town for the funeral of an uncle who isn't dead yet. So I mean, what could go wrong, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I've been working on that. I started writing the screenplay. And I'd been kind of moving, thinking about that. My brother and I had always, he was a movie buff, same as me. We both love movies. And we would talk on the phone or in person and we'd say, like, hey, here's an idea for a movie. And we'd talk about it and laugh about it and never did anything about it.
Right.
My brother passed away in 2012. And when I went to clean out his house, I realized he had a whole shelf of books on screenwriting. And I thought, oh, he was serious about this.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to take the books. And I'd kind of been obviously thinking about it. But so I took the books and read different books on screenwriting and wrote a screenplay. And it came out really well.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, it needed work. I was able to call on my friendship with Peter Farrelly, and he read the script and gave me 4 hours of notes on it. Really wonderful notes. And he was so great a friend to do that for me because he's a busy guy.
Right.
Granted, it took months for him to read it.
Is it? Yeah, right.
Yeah, and at first he didn't want to. He goes, Billy, I don't know if I want to read it because if it's not good, I'll have to tell you that it sucks, and I'll tell you to throw it away and start over. So he finally read it, and he called me. He goes, hey, I read your screenplay. It's good. And his comment was like, you've been saving tidbits of conversation and different events in your life for.
Give me a sense of that. I mean, I think we all do that, particularly when we have these small town eclectic experiences. That there's little fragments that you hold on to that are just emblematic of that part of the world and how people think. And
well, yeah, there's, and just phrases. It can be just like a little phrase. It's like, okay, so in the opening scene, the sister calls him and says, you need to come for a funeral. And he says, oh, no, he died. He says, no, he's not dead, but the funeral's next Sunday. So, and then she tries to guilt him into it. And so she says, instead of saying like, well, you should come because grandma's getting old. We don't know how long she'll be around. Instead of that, she goes, you better come because you're going to blink your eyes and grandma's going to be gone to glory.
Because you never say they died or passed away. They went to, they're gone to glory.
Gone to heaven.
Yeah.
And I had a relative that actually, this was a true to life experience with me, that I got the call that says, hey, his funeral's next Sunday. It's like, oh no, he died. And she goes, no, but he's close. This happened to me. Yeah, this happened. So just putting all that together, and I want to film it here in North Carolina.
Sure.
Possibly in Asheville. It's tough to film in Asheville, but because there's not a ton of crew, like all the crew people you need. You'd have to put them up in hotels and things. Probably.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Charlotte has them. But I think the film, so I've been slowly working on it. I've hired a casting director in Los Angeles, and we're going out. We're sending an offer to I can't say who, but we're sending an offer to our main lead actor this week.
That's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you've shared with me who that is, I think. So it's a big name.
Yeah, it's a big name. Big name. But you got to have a big name. It's such a crazy thing to get the money to make the movie.
Sure.
There's a list. They give you, the distributor will give you get one of these guys, we'll fund your movie.
The one piece that in that movie, I think, is the snake story.
Oh, the snake. That's near the beginning of the thing, too, because he calls the sister calling her brother. He's in Los Angeles. It's 7 a.m. in North Carolina where she's calling from. That means it's 4 a.m. where he is in Los Angeles. He just went to bed.
Right.
And she and he says, you do know it's 4 a.m. She goes, well, I wanted to call you early. I know you'd want to know about the funeral. And we got to get over to the church because Peaser has to get the snakes out of the air conditioning. And that came from a story that I was at my sister has these couple of cabins that she rents, and one of them is an Airbnb, and it's very nice, modernized and all that. But some people come, and there's a snake in there. So they go in there, they're trying to get it, they can't get it. There's a kid standing across the river. He's just a local kid, very local, rural Virginia kid, heart of gold kind of kid.
Right.
And he goes, I can get that snake for you. So he comes over and he goes in the house and he walks out with this big black snake holding like this, is as tall as he is, And my sister offers to give him some money. And he's like, no, ma'am. He's like, I do this all the time. I do it every Sunday. I have to go get the snakes out of the air conditioner. at the church. And I was just like, this kid has got like heart of gold.
I love it. I love that you're grabbing things like that and then able to put it into a structure of a film and work with it.
Well, that one happened after I'd finished the script, and I had to do it, add it back in. I had to open it back up. And I mean, you're always polishing a script. You're always, read it, every week, and I'll be like, oh, this could be better, this could be better. And then some scenes we might have to change just due to budgetary considerations.
Yeah, so that's one of the dimensions you're working with, is that budget then defines a lot of the elements about how you'll shoot it and who's in it, and you'll have to recraft how a scene or a dialogue unfolds, right?
Yeah.
To hit that number.
Yeah, like we had a scene where these guys get chased by a bear and jump off a cliff at a rock quarry. That's an expensive scene. You got to have an ambulance. You got to have EMTs on hand. You got to have all this stuff. So I think I'm changing that.
Yeah, I got you.
So just a game of free range golf where you go out in the country and pick your targets. Take a couple clubs and some balls, and you say like, okay, that tree over there.
Right. Oh, that'd be great. And then you have another one, Andy Gupta.
Yeah, Andy Gupta, which I wrote with. I have as a script with my friend Marwan Irani. And
Marwan, just for the record, is a James Beard nominated chef here in Asheville with a very successful series of ventures and restaurants and that sort of thing. So he grew up in India.
He grew up in India,
and so you guys collaborated on the storyline.
Because we would during COVID, we would take all these walks, and I'd tell him what I was writing about Andy Gupta. It's a story about the dumbest genius in the world, and you can tell some of the Farrelly Brothers rubbed off.
Yeah, you got a little bit of it.
But it's about the dumbest genius in the world, and it starts in Silicon Valley, and then the bulk of the movie would be shot in India. And so I would go on these walks with Marwan, and he would talk to me about things, and he's like, nah, it's not realistic, but this is. And he goes, they do this thing called missed calls, where they'll call and hang up before you pick up because every call costs a little bit, So I wove that into the plot a little bit.
Right.
Different things like that. And so, we're working on getting that. That's a whole nother venture. I'm focusing most of my energy right now on How to Die in the South, because it's immediately in front of me. We've had some investors, and we want to make sure that it all comes together when it needs to come together.
Sure.
And I think that's this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Congratulations. So Billy, let's role play for just a second. Let's play with this concept of collaboration and how you do it. So if I were to say for this podcast that I want to create something which is sophisticated, intellectual, but yet playful. I don't want to get too serious. This is not CNN. This is not NPR. We don't need the drama associated with that. But I want something that's elegant and yet clean and pure. If I gave you that amount of instruction, is that enough? Could you do something with that? And knowing a little bit about who I talk to in my audience.
Right, you talk to a lot of different people that do a lot of different things. So it needs to be broad enough. It needs to be a big enough umbrella to keep everybody dry. You know what I mean? It's got to tie the thing together. Also, I think for something like this, you want something that you can make some variations of. So maybe goes up, maybe goes down a little bit, gets a little more optimistic at times, if that's the nature of the conversation you're having, or a little more gravitas. So
perfect.
Yeah, it's got to have. Now, would you like piano?
Yeah, I think there's probably a bias to doing something that involves piano and horn or something like that. It's fairly classical treatment. Yeah.
Something.
We're certainly not doing EDM. We're not doing a dance beat.
Right.
There's nothing underneath it. I think it's pure and classic.
Yeah, pure and classic. So, we can start with a chord like that. And that might seem a little dark, but then we go to a major, and then, something like that.
Yeah.
Like 3 chords, probably what you're going to do is going to be very short.
Sure.
It's not going to be some long theme or something. It's going to just have. And then you want to give it some movement, so something like that. And then maybe you could just I should give it a little more tempo because you want to keep things moving.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Billy.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks.
It's been
so
an
much, Chris.
absolute pleasure to get inside your head and understand how these processes, which are so different and mystical almost, or mythical, in terms of understanding how to create those effects, those experiences, how you collaborate with some of the best artists in the world. It's fantastic. Thank you for
my
this
pleasure.
privilege.
Really glad you could stop by.
Absolutely. For those of you who have followed this podcast through to this point, as you listen to the outro, you're going to hear the fully produced version of this song, which was written and created by Billy Goodrum. That's all for now. I look forward to talking to you soon.